j6support.com and donate today.
While the libs continue to burn down Minneapolis and more broadly the entire country, I do, in regards to immigration enforcement, have a compromised position that I'd like to offer to our friends on the left. Also, globally, conservatism is catching on. I only wish those good kids in New York City who don't get a snow day could see it happen in their neck of the woods as well. My name is Jobob. Thanks so much for tuning into the show. It starts right now. Like I mentioned, I have a compromising position, not a compromising position that puts me in a compromising position, but a position that could lead to some sort of compromise with the libs. Trust me, you're going to want to find out what that is. But first, we got to set up this whole story that happened over the weekend. Because I like to follow Charlie's advice, took some time away from the phone, took time away from the social media, did the whole family weekend thing. And the good news is that nothing really significant happened over the weekend. I came back and it just another Monday, nothing, that's ignited riots in the streets of major American cities. Of course, I kid. Lots of things happened over the weekend, and we're going to talk about them here. But first, I got to remind you, tpt@tpusa.com is the email address if you'd like to send along your thoughts, comments, concerns, even criticisms of the show. You can criticize the opinion or the take that I will share with you in this coming segment, tpt@tpusa.com. I would actually love to hear from you regarding whether or not the compromise that I will propose is tenable, is something that might work, is something that we should actually look into. I happen to think it is, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. tpt@tpusa.com, or send us an email, leave a comment wherever it is that you happen to be watching this. And remember, if those emails and comments are gross, vulgar, bigoted, just downright nasty, it'll actually fit in on this gross, bigoted, nasty show that we do here in the mailbag segment, tpt@tpusa.com. Like I said, I have a compromise solution for the joining of the left and right. We are, effectively working on a group project here that is the United States of America and running it in a way that best suits its people. Before we get to what I actually think about the compromise, let's kind of set the stage here. This is according to the New York Post, but I'm sure you're privy to all of this information. Alex Preddy, 37, an ICU nurse, angry by President Trump's crackdown on illegal immigration in Minnesota, was carrying a loaded Sig Sauer P320 9mm pistol when he allegedly tried to stop federal agents from arresting a woman on the street. We've all seen the video. We don't need to see it again. I'm sure it's been playing on a loop. I don't need to not bore you with that, but we all understand what we're talking about here. I think there's actually a much bigger picture that it's much more worth discussing. The one thing that I'd like to point out that I didn't see literally anywhere, so much so I had to call a friend and say, am I taking crazy pills here? Because why is nobody on the lib mainstream media talking about this, was the idea that the gun may have misfired. And that could have sparked the entirety of the situation. Now, again, we're not going to get into the granular detail because I'm sure that's been covered at length by anybody and everybody, including people on this show, this network. So we're just not going to do it. The one thing, though, that the New York Times was not reporting on, that Apple News didn't report on, and I read a bunch of different things, nobody brought up the possibility of a negligent discharge by the gun, which is unfortunately famous for discharging negligently, meaning that the guy who took the gun off of the dude was carrying it, could have misfired. The video kind of looks like it does. Again, we're not going to get into that specifically here. But the bottom line is, even if that's a possibility, you would think that your mainstream lefty media outlets who pretend to be fair and balanced would maybe just consider that. Nowhere in any of the coverage that I saw from the lib media even considered that as an option, except for places like the New York Post. Rob Doerr, who is a lawyer for the Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus, said he believed that Preddy's gun went off after the agent grabbed it, leading to another agent opening fire. He says, I believe it's highly likely that the first shot was a negligent discharge from the agent in the gray jacket after he removed the SIG P320 from Preddy's holster while exiting the scene. I think that's totally possible from the video that I saw, that we've all seen. At the very, 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 very least, to not mention that in any of the news coverage from your lefty media is insane to me, to the point where I thought, am I missing something? Because pretty clearly this is a possibility which would alter the trajectory of how we understand this sort of thing. Is if a federal agent is there holding a guy down and he hears a gun go off, what does reasonability tell him that he may be well within his rights to do? So again, we're not necessarily even going to discuss that. There are, various people talking about, well, he shouldn't have brought a gun to when he engaged in law enforcement. Again, somewhat of a nuanced thing. The NRA has come out and said, yeah, it's totally within his rights. I, as a pragmatist, would say, yes, totally within your rights. Also, not necessarily advisable. Just because something is legal doesn't mean you should do it. We're not necessarily going to get into that argument here. I do want to talk briefly, before my epic solution, or at least compromise proposal with the left, I do want to talk about our reaction. I wasn't stoked about a lot of the ways that people on our side immediately reacted, saying definitively what his motivations were, what he was doing. All of that remains to be seen. They may end up being right. Unfortunately, though, the adults are no longer in the room. There are no adults really at any capacity of this. It starts, in my opinion, from the Minnesota government there, the Minneapolis government, Tim Walz, Jacob Frey. And unfortunately, because their declarative statements come so early on, there has to be a reaction. There has to be a fight and a wrangling over the narrative. And nobody can just say, hey, this is an open investigation. We don't actually know what happened. You have to fight fire with fire. I get all of that. But at the same time, not exactly thoroughly impressed in the immediate jumps to conclusions from our side. Now, having said that, their reaction, just as bad, if not worse, and by maybe clearly worse. Immediate reaction from people in Congress, AOC being one of them, saying this was clearly murder. Somebody was assassinated on the street. I will admit, the video, it's definitely iffy. But to say it was definitively this or definitively that on really either side is insane. But of course, none of the insanity gets further than the governor of the state, Tim Walz. I want to play you a couple clips from him. These are back-to-back him. I'm just going to play these clips. SOT 6, I believe.
And I think there cannot be very many people across this country looking right now, after all the reporting that's been done, after everything that's been said under the pretense that they are here about immigration reform, and quit referring to these people as law enforcement. They are not law enforcement. We have got children in Minnesota hiding in their houses, afraid to go outside. Many of us grew up reading that story of Anne Frank. Somebody's going to write that children's story about Minnesota. And there's one person who can end this now.
And actually, he's probably him. But that's Governor Tim Walz. This is one of those things where I want to laugh at it, but at the same time, this is actually a serious thing. Don't go around pretending that this is like the fear that he and many of his lib counterparts have caused in families is akin to Anne Frank in Nazi Germany. Get out of here with that. But also, I think this probably should be reiterated again. We played a clip that I want to play again, even though it's kind of not standard. I just figured this probably makes sense in this context. He said something there that is going to create even more chaos than it stops. See, these people are not actual law enforcement. They are not they're under the pretense that what they're really here to do is crack down, and they're not law enforcement. So stop calling them that. The governor of the freaking state said that. We played this clip last week, but I wanted to bring it up again because it exactly talks about, well, that's actually just not true factually speaking. Again, I know we saw this last week, but let me play it really quick just so we can refresher why Tim Walz is so flipping wrong so often.
ICE agents real law enforcement with real law enforcement powers? A lot of people are saying they aren't, but that's wrong.
Independent of what you think of them, under the law, which is what we talk about here, ICE agents are real federal law enforcement officers. They actually complete their training at the same giant federal facilities where other agencies like the Secret Service, DEA, and Marshals train.
As for the law, their authority to investigate and make arrests for immigration crimes falls under these two federal statutes, sections 1226 and 1357. But because they are sworn federal law enforcement officers, they also have broad Title 18 authority. Title 18 being the general code of federal criminal laws in the U.S.
And this is a big point of misunderstanding for people. A lot of people think that ICE only has authority for immigration-related offenses. And while it's true that ICE's main mission is to enforce immigration-related crimes, they won't be stopped on a bank robbery, for example, they still technically have the legal authority to arrest for tons of different federal crimes committed in their presence, because they are sworn federal law enforcement.
This is how we see ICE agents in the news arresting for things like obstruction and assault, even though these aren't specific immigration offenses. And because tons of people in the comments are getting this wrong, this is just an important clarification for you to know.
Tons of people in the comments and also in the government. A governor of a state is diametrically opposed to what the law actually says. They're not law enforcement. Stop calling them that. And he knows better. Of course he does. So all of those things, you know, being what they are, here's my compromise position. Here's the position that I have now taken of trying to mend the country back together, offering an olive branch to our lib friends. Here's what I think we can do to compromise. Dear libs, clearly you're upset with the tactics going on surrounding ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement, which is ICE, and really any border patrol efforts. You don't like the tactics. Okay, fine. What we can probably all agree on, if we're actually dealing in good faith, is, well, about 20 million people in this country illegally, and those people need to leave. Right now, we're on track about 500,000 per year, which honestly means those numbers need to go way up. So here is the olive branch that I'm extending to the libs. You come up with some ideas. Because we all have to agree, hey, you can't have people come into the country illegally. You can't ignore federal law, which has been on the books since the 90s. You just can't do that. And if you can, might I suggest some other federal laws that we ignore, like the IRS tax code. But of course you can't. You have to get rid of people who are in the country illegally. That's the bottom line. Now, if you disagree with the approach being taken or the tactics, cool. Because honest to God, I don't care how it's enforced. It just needs to be enforced. So with that, libs, ball is in your court. Here's where I'm willing to compromise. You come up with different ideas, maybe champion some new ideas that would allow the job to get done effectively and efficiently. The only thing that we can't disagree on is the fact that the job needs to get done. At this point in time, we're an individual that has gained 500 pounds by eating nothing but pizza and donuts for the last decade. And the doctor says the only thing that you have to do is lose weight. I don't care how you do it. I don't care if you stop eating for 6 months. I don't care if you run 70 miles a day. I don't care if you use the GLP-1s. I don't care. Whatever you need to do, you have to lose the weight. This is the position that I am currently in, and I think there's a lot of you folks out there as well. I don't care how it gets done, but it has to get done. Now, clearly, the libs are going to take my olive branch and just crush it in half because they don't actually want it to get done. They want to cause as much chaos as possible in order to upend the establishment, but they won't say stuff like that because there are very easy solutions that libs could do today that would help lessen the engagement between law enforcement at the federal level and everyday people. One of those things would be ending the whole sanctuary policy. I want to play this clip from the AG of Minnesota, Keith Ellison, talking about, well, you know, our hands are tied by the law. This is actually really interesting that CBS even asked him this, but they're pressing him on the question of, hey, why aren't you people helping ICE to keep everybody safe? And this was the Attorney General's answer. I believe this is cut 7.
DHS says Minnesota isn't cooperating with ICE detainers or requests for assistance. When ICE asks for help, why does Minnesota sometimes say no?
Well, because it's the law, right? I mean, it depends on the help that they're asking for. If someone who ICE might potentially be interested in, if that person gets arrested on, say, a DUI, our courts don't have the legal authority to hold them once the court has said they are to be released.
DHS says you're not cooperating. You say we're following the law as it's written.
Right. And so they're asking us to join them in breaking the law, and we can't do that. We believe in upholding the law. We believe in the rule of law.
So to a lefty dumbass who doesn't understand the whole sanctuary policy thing and how probably unconstitutional it is, the Supreme Court, unfortunately, is yet to weigh in on that specifically. What he's saying there is, hey, we made up these rules that say that we can break the rules, meaning harboring criminal illegals from immigration enforcement. So because we made up these rules, the only reason that we can't follow the rules is because the rules are here, which, by the way, we made up. That is like me putting a sign on my kitchen window saying, husbands in this house do not have to do any of the dishes. And then when my wife says, hey, why didn't you do any of the dishes? I'll point to the sign and say, hey, look, the sign says, what am I supposed to do? I can't disobey the sign. And then my wife would probably take down the sign and say, you're an idiot, go do the dishes. And I'd be like, yeah, that's fair. That makes sense. That is exactly what this is like. So if you'd like to, again, participate in my olive branch, my hope to rejoin the country in sanity, maybe go ahead and get rid of the sanctuary city thing. Just for the record, Texas is detaining 10 times the illegals that they are in Minnesota more broadly. But of course, you haven't seen rabid protests in Texas, mostly because the Texas state and local authorities cooperate with immigration enforcement. And so if, like Keith Ellison said, somebody gets arrested for a DUI, oh, look, they also have a deportation notice, the local government in Texas, both at the state and the local level, says, hey, we got an illegal here in our prisons already. We're going to go ahead and hand them over to you. What they do in Minnesota is they go, let's just release them into the public and force ICE into a position where they have to go into the public, engage with civilians to try and capture this person. So if you'd like, this is one of the options, libs, where you can just say, hey, we're going to get rid of this ridiculous, probably not constitutional policy we have in order to achieve the goal that we all agree is necessary. But they're not going to do that. You know what else they can do? They can get law enforcement on the ground in the local municipalities to participate, at the very least, with protecting ICE members from the rabid, crazy leftist lunatics who are out there trying to cause destruction. But they won't even do that. Here's a clip of the Minneapolis police chief, what is his name, Brian O'Hara, on one of the Sunday shows being asked, hey, were you ever told that you can't participate or you can't help out with situations involving ICE? Notice how he doesn't answer the question. This is cut 8.
Were you ever ordered to stand down? Have police been told not to protect ICE?
It is deeply disappointing to have anyone question and disparage the hard work of the men and women of the Minneapolis Police Department. There are 600 police officers that are left here after the destruction of the city in 2020, and they are doing an incredible job. About a dozen of our cops have been injured responding to a lot of the chaos that has resulted on the streets. Our officers respond every time there's a threat to someone's life, to public safety, or destruction in the city. And it doesn't matter whether it's because ICE is there or someone from the community is there. We are doing everything that we can to manage this chaos, but there's only 600 cops here, and there's thousands of immigration agents here.
Right.
So, he never said no. I mean, remember the question at the beginning was, hey, did anybody ever tell you you had to stand down? And at no point did he say, no, nobody ever told us that. Probably because, according to Fox News, in January of last year, Minneapolis mayor announced the city will not cooperate with Trump's deportation policy, effectively then saying, well, we're not going to keep you guys safe at all. We're not going to do any of those things. So there's another thing that libs could fix if only they also wanted to champion alternative methods for having ICE not go into the streets and arrest people. Because like I said, I don't care how it happens. It just needs to happen. And I'm willing to take suggestions. I'm willing to let you guys have some input, have ideas come into us as to how we can facilitate this process. My recommendation was be more like Texas, where they have 10 times the illegals being detained, but no riots there because, well, ICE doesn't have to be in the streets nearly as often. Bottom line is this. The libs, for some reason, over this shooting in Minneapolis, which is tragic. If I didn't mention that at the beginning, it is tragic. Anybody who is saying that it's not tragic is wrong. It objectively is. Nobody wants to see anything like this happen. Where the disconnect is, well, what caused it? Should he have been there? What kind of rhetoric is fueling this sort of stuff? What happened with the gun situation? All of those are questions that are yet to be answered, at least in my opinion, and will be answered by an investigation into it, which, by the way, some judge in Minnesota says, hey, Trump, you can't destroy evidence in this investigation, which is like, duh, like they weren't going to do that, but sure, go ahead and take your political win, you stupid lefty judge that thinks that that's like a necessary thing to say. Bottom line here is all of those things notwithstanding, what clearly is the case is the libs don't like the tactics. Okay, fine. Come up with your own tactics. We are open to suggestions. The only thing that we have to be solid on is we have to get all of these illegals that are milking the system, that are not contributing, and instead taking away from the American culture and society. They need to go. We need to get them all out of here. We are open to suggestions, willing to hear as many ideas as you wish, libs, in order to help us better do that. Until then, you kind of got to do what you got to do. And also, too, just really quick to kind of quell this idea, there's been talk about whether or not ICE should just leave Minneapolis and then focus elsewhere. That's actually a really interesting conversation because on one hand, you go, well, you can't fold because then what you're saying is if the libs decide to riot and burn down buildings and do all of the things that libs consistently do, and then that actually makes a difference, then holy cow, we can do this really everywhere. That's not a good precedent to set. Also, there's an argument that I tend to be a little bit more partial to. Just leave for like a week. Let them have their like little political win and then come back and go full force. Honestly, they probably won't even notice. All of those crazy protesters will have flown back because a lot of them aren't actually from the city. All their Soros money will have dried up, and then like in a week, just come back and like do the same thing that you're doing, and then like it'll take another week for them to get back to Minneapolis. Then go do something somewhere else for a little while, and just play this whole like cat and mouse game because honestly, the libs aren't smart enough to pay attention to what's going on. Unfortunately, they don't have jobs to get back to, so there's that whole problem too. A really interesting discussion on all of it. We'd love to hear your thoughts in this entirety of this discussion going on here. tpt@tpusa.com, or leave a comment wherever it is that you happen to be watching this. And if that comment and those emails are just nasty, disgusting, or tend to promote our way of thinking around here, we'll read it on the show on our last segment of the show, which is our mailbag segment. tpt@tpusa.com. We will be right back after the break to discuss the legislative fallout. Will there be another government shutdown? Remains to be seen. We'll be right back after the break. Don't go away.
Hey folks, it's your friend John Rich. I co-founded Old Glory Bank because we heard too many stories about people getting canceled by their bank because they didn't agree with their politics. The government wanted to know where you shopped. If you bought a Bible or you shopped at a sporting goods store, you're probably on a list. We created Old Glory Bank because America needed a bank that would protect their privacy and security. Exercising your constitutional rights is not a criminal activity, and neither is loving your country. At Old Glory Bank, we stand with you.
I'm a J6er. I spent 1,143 days in prison.
About a year in prison.
We were prosecuted, persecuted.
J6ers have been treated like terrorists.
And we need your help.
Stand in the Gap was founded to stand in the gap for J6ers working to rebuild their lives after being incarcerated.
For just $10 or more, you can help these patriots get back on their feet again. Every dollar you give is being matched up to $50,000. Go now to j6support.com and donate today. Now is the moment to put your brand in front of an engaged, loyal audience through Real America's Voice. When you advertise on Real America's Voice, you're not just running an ad, you're partnering with trusted voices like Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and other influential hosts. Backed by millions of monthly listeners.
What's happening? Because of a Real Voice, man. I watch it all the time.
Real America's Voice rocks.
Real America's Voice gives sponsors the chance to put their product front and center, displayed on screen and highlighted by our anchors during exclusive segments and live events.
Head to freetrumpknife.com.
This means your brand becomes part of the conversation as it happens.
Secure your spot before it's too late.
Join us today and make your brand part of the news conversation that America's viewers trust. Real America's Voice, where your message is seen, heard, and remembered.
Mama Love in northern Minnesota. You know, a collective voice is much louder than a single voice. Thanks, Rav, for giving us a place to chat and connect. See y'all in chat.
My name is Tina, and I'm in Dallas, Texas. I'm so grateful to be able to get my news from an organization like Real America's Voice, whose conservative values align with my own.
Hey, this is SEAL Team from Missouri. I like Real America's Voice because it's real news for real people, and it's real good.
We still doing Black Lives Matter?
No, election's over. Turns out it was a scam and they stole all the money.
Did you do any abortion protests?
No, the election's over. Turns out nobody wanted to fuck us.
We still doing the trans rights thing?
No, the elections are coming up. Turns out people don't like child genital mutilation.
Should I buy another Palestine flag?
No, the election's over and Trump brought peace to the Middle East.
You still down to do ICE protests?
Fuck yeah, we are.
Oh man, that is classic, like totally classic lib mentality. Just, hey, what's the next thing? Remember the meme that was made out of the memes where like people put their "I'm vaccinated" little Facebook thing, or like wear a mask, or stay at home saves lives, or whatever it is, and then the meme became like those things, like I support the current thing. Trust me, Facebook friends, I support the current thing is like the meme about that. But it's so fascinating and funny and interesting when the libs do the meme. Like we make a joke about them and then they like perpetuate the joke by embodying the joke. It's almost like somebody's like telling them they have to. Like, hey, what's the next current thing that we have to be mad at? There's also probably a broad discussion about what it is that people are doing with like their lives, like in more broadly speaking. Like I was talking to my wife about this and we were both like, dang, man, can you imagine what it would be like to like have the time to go be angry at like a government policy? There are plenty of things that I would love to protest for, especially locally. There are things locally in my community that I would love to go out and like actually make a ruckus about, obviously in a peaceful protesting way. But there are things that my local community is doing that I don't like at all. But I just don't have the time. Like I got house projects. I got 2 kids. I got a wife. Like it's by the end of the day, like I'm beat. Like, can you imagine having that sort of time? What libs need to do is fill their lives with things that are fulfilling. Go get involved in a church. Go have some kids. Do all of those things. And chances are you'd actually find, 1, more actual happiness, and 2, better things to do with your time. Speaking of things that are not a great use of time, this is actually really interesting and going on all around the country. Unfortunately, there are massive anti-ICE walkouts going on high school campuses nowadays. This is just one example from Meadow Creek High School in Norcross, Georgia. This is obviously one of many protests. It's a bunch of freaking kids, but just watch this very brief clip of this. They're really angry and they're mad about it. The children, for some reason, are not being told by the adults in the room, hey, you still got to go to class. This is ridiculous. Stop doing that. This is cut 9. That's that. I think you get a picture of that. There's a bunch of kids protesting, I guess, whatever. You can see that there's thousands of them. Now, this is going on all over the country because apparently the adults have left the chat. What I think is fascinating about this, specifically in this high school, the overall test ranking is in the bottom 50th percent. The math proficiency level is at 20%. The reading proficiency, I'm talking about in this school specifically, at 20%. Science proficiency, 23%. And the overall graduation rate is at 82%. I've never quite understood how that math works. Like, if the proficiency rating of the school is at like a fifth of students, if 1 in 5 students can read at grade level, how is the graduation rate not also the same? Like, how is 1 in 5 kids can do math at a grade level, but 4 in 5 of the kids are graduating high school? This is a whole different conversation for a different time. But what they're protesting and what libs are hoping spreads across the country is rabid protests that would allow them to, I kid you not, this is where we're headed, shut down the government again. Oh no. People are going to, the last time the government shut down, it was the longest U.S. government shutdown in history. And I didn't notice. I believe we had Senator Cruz on, who was talking about the government shutdown. And he was actually the first person to notify me that it actually was still happening. I had no idea. And also, too, when I did find out, I was very much on the side of, well, I didn't have a government for 44 days. I should have a prorated tax exemption for those 44 days, which is what? A tenth of the year? 10% of the year? 10% of my year, I did not have a government. Neither did you. We should be exempt from paying 10% of our federal income tax because we didn't have a government. So there's that. So anyways, here's where the rubber could meet the road here. Congress, the Senate specifically, faces a deadline of January 30th, which is Friday of this week, to pass a critical funding package that covers 6 federal agencies, including the Department of Homeland Security. The House has already passed this. This is but it includes $64 billion for DHS, with $10 billion specifically allocated to ICE. Here's where the problem is, and I think this is actually really interesting because I think it comes down to like one specific individual who is an Instagram influencer for some reason with a vote in the House of Representatives. But the bill requires 60 votes in the Senate, which means Republicans need, 7 Democrats to come alongside them? And that's assuming that all the Republicans vote for it. I can imagine that there's probably going to be some conservative in like a purplish state that's going to be kind of squishy on this. So that's obviously problematic. But a bunch of the libs are refusing to support it in its current form after the shooting that took place in Minneapolis over the weekend. A bunch of the libs are now saying, well, we are not going to vote on this, or we're not going to vote for this if ICE funding is included, which is very, very odd because at the same time, libs are trying to make the case, hey, these ICE agents are untrained. They don't know what they're doing. Also, we're going to vote against any of the money that would probably be used to hire more and train more people. So again, put those thoughts together in your own head. You think they're undertrained, but also not going to fund any new training because they shouldn't have any money. Again, I'm not trying to figure out what the crazy people think, but that's try to square that one in your head, libs. Also, this I think is this is what I think this is actually all about. What's on the chopping block is Senator Schumer's job. One guy in the state of New York, Senator Chuck Schumer, is very, very scared of getting primaried by one Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She has gone on the record and said, well, this is explicitly a murder. It's explicitly assassination. And therefore, Senator Schumer, who otherwise would have approved this bill, maybe not him, he probably wouldn't have voted for it, but he at least let the people in the Lib caucus in the Senate go, yeah, do whatever you think is necessary here. But instead said, nope, we're not going to vote on it now. So the bottom line is the government could shut down. And some of you may notice that happens. Maybe you have a vacation planned to Yosemite and, all of a sudden the park is shut down because for some reason the libs decided to shut down the government over, in my opinion, something very, very stupid. But again, we've badgered on quite a bit about that. What's really interesting too here in the modern world is how some of this stuff is polled. Now, it's not like a traditional poll where like a polling institution calls you, but in the betting markets. Over the weekend, the betting markets like Kalshi showed the odds of a government shutdown at just 10%. But on Monday morning, those numbers jumped up to 75% on the various betting platforms where you can bet whether or not the government will shut down. Now, the Senate is supposed to vote as early as Thursday. Obviously, both sides are blaming each other, but again, clearly it's the libs who want to hold things up because that's their like only recourse here. But a compromise could be in the works, could be a last minute deal. We'll see. But the bottom line is libs are going to try and shut down the government again, legislatively, policy wise, in order to get their way. Now, one of the big problems that we have to overcome is this media narrative. I think that's the biggest thing that is going to hinder anything like this. This is a clip from CNN that I thought was really interesting and fascinating. It's horrible, it's disgusting and terrible, but that goes without saying. I think it's more of an insight into how more of your mainstream libs react to this sort of thing, and if this is how some of the mainstream libs who are going on mainstream lib networks are reacting. Unfortunately, coming to a deal, coming to a compromise in terms of funding the government going forward is going to be super, super difficult. This is SOT 10. This is a dude on Jake Tapper's show saying some out-of-pocket nonsense. Watch this.
I understand that, but they take people to Fort Snelling here, which literally was built as a concentration camp, and Alligator Alcatraz, which I think we can all agree is a concentration camp. I'm not saying they're Dachau. I'm not saying they're putting people in ovens yet, but these are concentration camps.
Okay.
I don't need to argue with you about that.
Yeah, so I don't know who that guy is. I'm not entirely sure why he's wearing a pink beanie. I don't know if it's like the Women's March or something, that he's late. Look at me. Look at bigoted me, just assuming this man's gender. He could be a woman himself. That could be a pink women's beanie going off to the Women's March. Because remember, they used to be women's private parts hats, but then the libs got super upset about that because not all women have those private parts. I mean, of course they do, but libs for some reason. Anyways, all of that being said, compromise is pretty difficult to come to when you have people like that on CNN saying, well, they're not throwing people into ovens yet. Holy cow, man. Talk about just not okay. Now, that's not to say that, like, you want this guy like shut down and, he can't say that because he can. But also, society and culture should exile that sort of person and that sort of thinking. But until that happens, libs in the Senate are going to hold up bills that fund the government, that try and keep the American people safe, give the administration enough money to do the job that they are tasked with doing by Congress, by the way. There hasn't been any sort of comprehensive immigration reform since 1996. So all of the rules that have been on the books since Clinton, Bush, Obama, Trump, Biden, Trump, all of that has been the same, but libs are just angry about it right now. We will see. We will keep you posted on whether or not this funding bill goes through. It remains to be seen whether libs are going to jump on board with doing what the American people want. By the way, remember the polling that came out during the election that like 75% of Americans, both parties, wanted illegals out of the country? Doesn't matter on whether or not they were criminals or not. So just keep all of those things in mind as we discuss this going forward. I do want to get to this. This is interesting. We'll talk about this next segment, but really, really interesting polling coming out of Brazil, of all places. And why does that matter to the United States? It actually does, and it does matter in the context of America First more broadly. We'll talk about that, and then also Ma'am Danny, Ma'am Danny in New York, which, by the way, tpt@tpusa.com if you'd like to send me some different pronunciations of Ma'am Danny. What did somebody say? You have to do like Pig Latin and flip the first letter of both of his names. So Moron Zandanny also could possibly work. TBT if you have some insight into how to pronounce his name, but he is making waves, not giving the kids a snow day, and why that's important, you'll find out coming up next after the break. Don't go away.
This holiday season, Real America's Voice is proud to partner with our friends at Angel Studios for a special giveaway you won't want to miss. As they launch season 2 of their hit series Homestead, we're giving you the chance to win an exclusive Homestead hat absolutely free. Everyone who becomes an Angel Guild member using our link is automatically entered to the contest. When you join, you're supporting meaningful pro-American storytelling, and you're supporting RAV at the same time. Scan the QR code on your screen right now, or text the word RAV Angel to 75800 7802. After you scan or text, make sure you follow the steps provided. When you complete the steps and join the Angel Guild, you'll be automatically entered to win that exclusive homestead hat, a perfect holiday gift for yourself or someone you love.
Be one of the first 50 people to sign up and win a hat automatically. Hurry while there's still time.
So scan that QR code or text RAVAngel to 75802. Happy holidays from all of us at RAV.
Patriots, it's time to gear up. Real America's Voice has an entire lineup of merch made just for you.
We got some RAV fans out here.
We watch you every day.
From mugs that start your morning strong to hoodies, hats, t-shirts, pants, vests, flags, and so much more.
Yeah, I noticed it. I mean, that caught my eye big time.
Every piece lets you wear your pride loud and clear. This isn't just merch, it's a movement. When you shop RAV, you're showing the world you're proud to be part of the Real America's Voice family.
God bless Real America's Voice.
So don't wait. Scan the QR code right now or visit realamericasvoice.launchcart.store to shop today.
Thank you, Real America's Voice, for doing true journalism.
Stand tall, be bold, be proud. Represent your voice with Real America's Voice.
It's good to have a real news network out there, so I'm a big fan.
Use code RAVSWAG10 for 10% off.
Real America's Voice rocks.
Are you pregnant? What? I'm a boy. I can't be pregnant. I'm copying Dad.
That is, brevity is the soul of wit. And that kid is brief and witty all at the same time. One, just a knock on his dad. Sorry, Dad, who looks like he's in the background laughing, but that kid thinks you're fat. Second, maybe we should send this kid to the Supreme Court. Maybe this guy should sit, maybe this child should sit on the United States Supreme Court, because even though it does not appear that in any way, shape, or form he is a biologist, he does know that men can't get pregnant. I can't get pregnant. I'm a boy. Which is accurate and true and hilarious. And then just, throwing the jab at Dad just really brings it home. I'm acting like that. Anyways, speaking of, reality and how things work, this is interesting, again, happening in our own hemisphere. There's a lot of people that think America first, and especially America first in the way Trump talks about it, is like isolationism. And there's a certain extent to that makes sense. But at the same time, there also is a benefit for us and our neighbors being kind of on the same page. Now, I'm not saying we should go invade Brazil, although I can be convinced. But what's going on in Brazil outside of U.S. invasion is actually great. It's actually really, really interesting to see. There was a lot of news made about Jair Bolsonaro several years ago in Brazil in the elections that we don't need to bring that up right now. But his son is actually running for president, which is why I think this is fairly interesting to show. Flavio Bolsonaro is a guy with the strong conservative traditional values, pro-gun guy, anti-left socialism orientation, pro-Western foreign policy dude, which is fantastic. You want that sort of thing. The West more broadly as a whole being upheld around the world is a good thing. Guy wants to participate in free trade with a bunch of other countries. Lula, who's the opponent, the incumbent opponent, is a socialist. So there's that. Wants gun restrictions, harsh fiscal policies, doesn't want to really do anything in terms of having a free market, wants to give everybody else everything they want, which is obviously going to bankrupt everybody very, very quickly. And socially speaking, very, very supportive of all of the debaucherous social nonsense that unfortunately we see too much of here as well. But the bottom line here is what's interesting about this is that recent polling in this election shows Bolsonaro, the conservative in Brazil, with 48% to Lula at 41%. Now, obviously, the voting still needs to take place. This is just a poll, but it would appear that some of our neighbors are in a good position to make conservatism their way of governance going forward. Now, you might be thinking, why does this matter? Why do we talk about Venezuelan politics? Why do we talk about Brazilian politics? What does this actually have to do with anything? I think last week we were talking about like Norwegian politics, Finland, one of those Nordic countries. Well, it matters because, one, just more broadly, we want to see Western traditional values propagated across the rest of the world. That's just a good thing overall for everybody. Yes, America first means America first, but also, not that even we're engaging necessarily here, but our media definitely reaches over there in Brazil. Also, I want the rest of the world to be Western countries because I want them to succeed. Western countries are the most successful countries on the face of the earth. Look at all of your like non-Western countries. You have people in the country that don't have electricity. Jordan Peterson talks about this. The biggest problem is like cheap, reliable, efficient energy. And a lot of countries who aren't Western countries, who don't have Western values, don't have that for their citizens. I want other people around the world to succeed, obviously in their own country. But what harm would it do to us if Brazil had power and food for all of the people that they want? And you can only do that, or you can most efficiently do that, if you have free markets and Western civilization more broadly in that country. Also, why this is important to the American people, maybe they won't come here as often. Look, if South American countries weren't mobbed up cartel hellholes, maybe they wouldn't come here and we wouldn't have all of these problems like with ICE in Minnesota. Maybe if countries around the world were more oriented towards Western values, we wouldn't have people that need to come to the United States and seek refugee status and start daycares in Minnesota, for example. Maybe we wouldn't need that. The bottom line here is ultimately, too, this is going to be a struggle between the Christian West and Islam. And I, for one, think it's better to have more people, more allies on the Christian Western philosophical tradition than not, when that comes actually to bear. Dang it, there's this clip that I really want to play, but I don't think we're gonna have time for it because we got to get to Ma'am Danny and then got to get to the mailbag segment. So we will be right back after the break talking Ma'am Danny and the Not Snow Day, which in my opinion it's just corrupt by nature, but we'll talk about that after the break. Don't go away.
This holiday season, Real America's Voice is proud to partner with our friends at Angel Studios for a special giveaway you won't want to miss. As they launch season 2 of their hit series Homestead, we're giving you the chance to win an exclusive Homestead hat absolutely free. Everyone who becomes an Angel Guild member using our link is automatically entered to the contest. When you join, you're supporting meaningful pro-American storytelling, and you're supporting RAV at the same time. Scan the QR code on your screen right now, or text the word RAV Angel to 75802. After you scan or text, make sure you follow the steps provided. When you complete the steps and join the Angel Guild, you'll be automatically entered to win that exclusive Homestead hat, a perfect holiday gift for yourself or someone you love.
Be one of the first 50 people to sign up and win a hat automatically. Hurry while there's still time.
So scan that QR code or text RAV Angel to 75802. Happy holidays from all of us at RAV.
Patriots, it's time to gear up. Real America's Voice has an entire lineup of merch made just for you.
We got some RAV fans out here.
We watch you every day.
From mugs that start your morning strong to hoodies, hats, t-shirts, pants, vests, flags, and so much more.
Yeah, I noticed it. I mean, that caught my eye big time.
Every piece lets you wear your pride loud and clear. This isn't just merch, it's a movement. When you shop RAV, you're showing the world you're proud to be part of the Real America's Voice family.
God bless Real America's Voice.
So don't wait. Scan the QR code right now or visit realamericasvoice.launchcart.store to shop today.
Thank you, Real America's Voice, for doing true journalism.
Stand tall, be bold, be proud. Represent your voice with Real America's Voice.
It's good to have a real news network out there, so I'm a big fan.
Use code RAVSWAG10 for 10% off.
Real America's Voice rocks.
This is Tim King, also known as USS Malik, and I love Real America's Voices for its like-minded programming and the chat. Love you guys.
Lazar Garcianovich here from Japan. Love Real America's Voice, real news, honest views, and love seeing everyone there. God bless America.
You want to push? Send it. Don't leave.
Somebody organize a protest. That's what we need to do. That should not be allowed. That's a police department somewhere enjoying snow day and unfortunately taking out a small child. Now, obviously, everybody involved in this video seems to be okay. But also, maybe that's why Ma'am Danny doesn't want to give those poor kids in New York City a snow day. Let's play this. Cut 11, I believe. This is Ma'am Danny issuing his decision on whether or not there will be a snow day in New York City despite the massive amounts of snow. And there's a reason why this is interesting that we'll talk about after this clip. This is cut 11.
We have stress-tested systems, sent students home with the materials and technology they need to learn virtually, and are working with vendors to ensure that our systems have the capacity that they need. And I know that this may disappoint some students, so if you do see me, feel free to throw a snowball at me.
Okay, I gotta get through this very quick. One, do not throw a snowball at that guy. Although you might want to, and even though he said, "Hey, kids, you can throw snowballs at me," yeah, that might appear normal for the violent left, but yeah, we on the conservative right don't do that sort of thing, and don't think that that's like an open. Do not throw a snowball at the mayor of New York City. Second, yeah, here's the reason why. One, it's crazy that libs think that for some reason, because we did quote unquote distance learning, it worked. All of the numbers show that it didn't. Kids got worse in their schools. They got put years behind when they got kicked out of their schools for the Fauci fever. It did not benefit anyone in any way, shape, or form, except for the freaking teachers unions. To makes you ask the question, well, why is Ma'am Danny shutting down the schools in their in actual real life school, but also letting them go home and not actually do a snow day? Because one, we can go through a laundry list of numbers. Snow days are the best. I never experienced a snow day because unfortunately I live in California and the weather's always fantastic, but everybody I know who had experienced a snow day say it's fantastic. Why is Ma'am Danny not allowing those kids to experience that joy? Well, it's because of pressure from the teachers unions. The state law in New York City says that New York public schools must complete 180 days or equivalent hours of instruction per year in order to fulfill and meet the educational requirements, i.e. get freaking funding from the state. So instead of giving kids just a day off, a day to go play in the snow, a day to like have fun with their friends, as generations and generations had done in the past, he's going to say, no, it has to be a learning day. He knows that it's not actually going to be a learning day. No actual learning is going to get done because one, it just doesn't work. And two, no kid is going to be happy about this. So they're just not going to be absent from school. But the reason that they're doing it is in order to funnel the money back to the New York City schools, which in turn helps the teachers unions, which in turn supports Ma'am Danny, which is why he is denying those good children a snow day. And by default, joy. Ma'am Danny is anti-joy. TPT@TPUSA.com if you'd like to send along your emails. And if you want your email included in the mailbag segment, make sure it's disgusting, vile, bigoted, and all of those things. We'll be right back after the break. Don't go away.
This holiday season, Real America's Voice is proud to partner with our friends at Angel Studios for a special giveaway you won't want to miss. As they launch season 2 of their hit series Homestead, we're giving you the chance to win an exclusive Homestead hat absolutely free. Everyone who becomes an Angel Guild member using our link is automatically entered to the contest. When you join, you're supporting meaningful pro-American storytelling, and you're supporting RAV at the same time. Scan the QR code on your screen right now, or text the word RAVAngel to 75802. After you scan or text, make sure you follow the steps provided. When you complete the steps and join the Angel Guild, you'll be automatically entered to win that exclusive Homestead hat, a perfect holiday gift for yourself or someone you love.
Be one of the first 50 people to sign up and win a hat automatically. Hurry while there's still time.
So scan that QR code or text RAVAngel to 75802. Happy holidays from all of us at RAV.
Patriots, it's time to gear up. Real America's Voice has an entire lineup of merch made just for you.
We got some Rav fans out here.
We watch you every day.
From mugs that start your morning strong to hoodies, hats, t-shirts, pants, vests, flags, and so much more.
Yeah, I noticed it. I mean, that caught my eye big time.
Every piece lets you wear your pride loud and clear. This isn't just merch, it's a movement. When you shop Rav, you're showing the world you're proud to be part of the Real America's Voice family.
God bless Real America's Voice.
So don't wait. Scan the QR code right now or visit realamericasvoice.launchcart.store to shop today.
Thank you, Real America's Voice, for doing true journalism.
Stand tall, be bold, be proud. Represent your voice with Real America's Voice.
It's good to have a real news network out there, so I'm a big fan.
Use code RAVSWAG10 for 10% off.
Real America's Voice rocks.
This is Tim King, also known as USS Malik, and I love Real America's Voices for its like-minded programming and the chat. Love you guys.
Lazar Garcianovich here from Japan. Love Real America's Voice, real news, honest views, and love seeing everyone there. God bless America.
Oh, I'm seeing it, and I'm literally wearing a hoodie right now, like I might have to wear it outside. We heard about the power outages, yeah. I mean, we have dinner reservations later, and we might have to sit inside, so we're terrified. A foot of ice on the streets is just insane. I mean, I almost had to have a hot coffee this morning, so we are in the same boat, brother. Well, I'm not wearing socks right now, but there's a chance that I have to throw some on later. Were you one of those people that like stocked up on bread and stuff like that? You did. I mean, we would do the same. We would do the same if we ate carbs. If there's like ice and snow and all that stuff, like, do you guys still go to the beach? No, no, you guys don't still go to the beach. Do you? I mean, if I'm gonna be real with you, and like, I don't want you to feel bad, okay? But like, I don't even know if I'll be able to tan today.
All right, TBT at TPUSA.com. Send along your emails. Is that offensive? Because I recognize that a lot of the country is getting hit with a pretty severe snowstorm, and there's a lot of me that feels a lot like this guy, dude. I had to wear a jacket and a sweatshirt to church yesterday. It was almost 50 degrees. It was like 55. It was in the 50s. Because I live in Southern California, that's the mentality I have. I don't know. Is that like an offensive mentality to have? Or you guys could just say, yeah, but you still live in California. And I go, yeah, fair point. So yeah, some of the weather advantages are negated by the policy and legislative disadvantages in this godforsaken poopiest state. Anyways, let's get to the comments section /mailbag. Greg says this: How did the Somalians outsmart Minnesota? I have no idea how it happened. And then I think he gives an answer, which is very hilarious, Greg. It's kind of like bananas and rice. Part of the bananas and part of the rice it culminates in, like you said, bananas and rice, which is basically like being Somalian in Minnesota. He also says this: I support ICE, would love to see Americans who are rapists and pedophiles also be sent to South America, or just drop them in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. It's not a bad idea, Greg. Let's see. Bryce with an interesting take here regarding the murder rate dropping substantially. Bryce says the significant drop in major crime in 2025 to its lowest point in 126 years is because the rule breakers and the crime producers are too busy with their daily peaceful protests. I don't know about that one. That's a funny joke, funny commentary, but it's just practically speaking. So what we're supposed to think is that all of the would-be murderers are doing quote-unquote peaceful protests. I can buy that. I buy that. Let's see. On the topic of spicy take from Sylvia here. This will probably be the last one before we get wrapped up here. Oh, well, let's just say this. Karen and Sandy said they got kicked off of Facebook for a lot of different reasons. I think we put the call out last week. So there were several emails here talking about getting booted off Facebook, but Karen and Sandy were two of those people. Sylvia, very spicy take here. She says, I'm an immigrant from Mexico, and like your dad, I hate all of these illegals. If we flip the tortilla to my end, they'd hate us in our homeland. Yeah, Her words, not mine, by the way. But basically, yeah, a legal immigrant to this country those people are the people that can't stand the rampant illegal immigration more than anybody. The natural-born American citizens, honestly, like myself, pale in comparison to like people like my dad and the people that came here legally and want those illegals out of our country. Anyways,